Now, since this is such a touchy subject, I mean, it's bad enough I got to tell people what the scriptures say about how to eat. But there's one thing I find that people want to hear less about than how to eat, and that's how to look, how to dress. Well, it needs to get out there, and I don't do this because I love to point people's faults out, but I want to let people know that the adversary is lurking and trying to attack us any way he can. And there's something that happened today, and that is our appearance looks too much like the world. We are not set apart. We are called to be set apart. If you're standing next to your friend who's not a believer and you look the same way, what message are you sending to the world? So we have to send an important message out there today. So on that note, we're going to start off with this very important scripture. And that scripture is Ezekiel 33:11. This is one of the greatest warnings I can give people. And it says, I take no pleasure in the death of wicked people. I only want them to change from their wicked ways so they can live. Now, I'm not calling any of you wicked if you're watching this. I don't know you. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But if you're living and looking in a way that shows what wicked is, so we must change, everybody. You understand? So let's look at what it says in Wisdom 27:19. You must be thinking, well, what's wisdom? Proverbs 27:19 says, as a face is reflected in water, so the heart reflects the real person. So your heart is going to reflect or be reflected in your actions, and your appearance is no different than that. We need to understand that. You know, in Hosea 4:6 it says, my people are destroyed for lack of the knowledge, lack of the Torah, lack of that information. It goes on to say, because you have rejected knowledge, I also reject you from being priests for me. Since you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I also forget your children. So it's so important not to forget what the scriptures say, to have them on your heart. And I believe if you have them on your heart, this message will not be a difficult message for you to swallow. I think you'll get it quite well. Now, when we talk about set apart, I want to remind everybody about Exodus 15:26. In Exodus 15:26, it says, if you diligently keep all my statutes and commands, I will not put the same disease upon you that I put upon the Egyptians. This had nothing to do with Egyptians, folks. This had to do with the disobedient people. If you keep all, not some, but all his statutes and commands, he will not put the same disease upon you that he put upon the disobedient Egyptians. Now, when the children crossed the Jordan to go into the promised land, they were given a warning, and the warning was to separate and divide themselves from all the unclean things and destroy those unclean things. And if they did, their reward would be that they would be blessed abundantly. But if they didn't, they were told that they would not only get the same diseases that were put upon the Egyptians, but new diseases that they never even heard of. Well, what happened? The children went in there, and they did not completely separate, divide, and destroy all the unclean things. And not only did they get new diseases and the same diseases, but even today we have the same new diseases every single day. And why? Because we continue to mingle the seed and ignore the instructions and the warning of our Creator. Well, when we look at this and we look at today's world and we look how we're not being set apart, there's no more common way than our appearance. There's nothing more on a downward spiral quicker than the way we look and the way we dress. And we need to realize this because, you know, they say that our volume or our voice is only a certain part of communication, and it's true. And it's not the biggest part. It's a much bigger part in our appearance. Without saying a word, people need to look at us and know that we're set apart. Philippians 3:19 says, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is their shame. Whose glory is their shame. Well, the Bible shows us over and over again that nakedness and shame go hand in hand. Nakedness and shame go hand in hand. Now, first, let me say, nakedness is not just running around with no clothes on. Nakedness is to reveal to the world what our Creator told us not to reveal to the world. That is what nakedness is. And we look at this, and we look at how nakedness and shame go hand in hand according to the Scriptures. Genesis 3:21, it says, our Creator made clothing of animal skins for Adam and his wife Eve. Now remember, Adam and Eve, when they realized they were naked, what they did, they made bikinis out of fig leaves. They covered their private parts. But that wasn't good enough for our Creator. What he did, he covered them in tunics. He covered them completely, their bodies in tunics, because he showed, now that you realize what nakedness is, you need to cover that nakedness. Then we look at Genesis 9:20-28. We see Noah. Noah got drunk and he went in the tent, and his son Ham revealed his nakedness Noah's nakedness to his brothers. Nakedness and shame go hand in hand. So what happened? Our Creator punished Ham for revealing the nakedness, and he blessed his brothers. And then we go on to look at Exodus 20:26. It says, do not approach my altar by going up the steps, as this is what the priests were told, because they would not reveal their nakedness if they did that. So they were told to wear undergarments, so they didn't reveal their nakedness. And then finally, we can look at, there's so many examples, but let's look at Isaiah 47:1-3, where our Creator is comparing Babylon as a beautiful, aspiring, elegant lady who has all of the attention. And the scripture says, come down and sit in the dust, you virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground and not a throne. Daughter of Babylon, no longer are you to be called dainty and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Take off your veil and strip off your skirt. Uncover your legs and wade through the streams. Your private parts will be exposed. Yes, your shame will be seen. I'm going to take vengeance, and no one will stand in my way. You know, I want you to ask yourself this. This is for the ladies and the men that are watching this. When you get up in the morning, what decides how short your skirt or your shorts are going to be that day? Do you look at the weather and decide, or do you look at our Creator's word and decide? How much of your leg are you going to reveal to the word every day? Well, we see right here, uncover your legs and expose your private parts. This is shame, or at least it used to be shame. But something has happened today. Now nakedness is no longer considered something that's wrong. Now people take pride in their nakedness, and this creates an even bigger issues. We have to keep the root pure, everybody. We have to understand if the root is corrupted, everything that comes from the root is going to be corrupted.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways, Torah life ministries. Come out of the world,